Tao Meeting Archives, July 26, 2015. Learning about the Tao Halfway Around the World, Part 2, by Bibi Angola.
Let's go ahead and do the meeting beginning ritual, everyone. 起立，面向佛堂，参加三鞠躬，一鞠躬，再鞠躬，三鞠躬，参加各位点传师一鞠躬，开班一鞠躬，请坐下。Please be seated.
Good morning, everyone. This is exciting because it keeps me constantly in the frame of reference of that fantastic, wonderful trip that we took to Taiwan in June last month. It just still seems surreal. So I think that I just backtracked a slide just to reiterate where we were. And this is Senior Grandmaster Chin, and I believe, and this is a set of slides showing his the simplicity of his life. And this is at the museum that was dedicated to him. So these slides actually, let's see if I can get to the, okay. This is a slide, again, some of these, I think these are his actual things, actually. They're not replicates, of the simplicity of his dining room. For example, he lived a very, very simple life. You see things are roped off here, and here are some of the members of the group. And so again, just showing how he lived. Very simple. Simple desk. He had two different desks. This is one of them. But again, the simplicity of his life is what's being shown. That's the other desk. And again, you can see his living room, very simple. You know, his bedroom. And these are his clothes that they were showing us, and they were saying he didn't have a lot. He might have had a couple of more, I don't know. But again, very simple, a couple of hats, and they preserved all of these things to show us that he was a great, great man that cultivated and spread the Tao all over the world, and could have had the means to do many, many things, but he lived very humbly. And, you know, I took a great takeaway from that, you know, like less is more. I took away the greatness of a man, and just made me realize how we in the West, you know, consume, and, you know, there's no point to it. They said the one thing that he did allow himself was to upgrade his kitchen. And that's why they're showing it. He did upgrade it, and that's what the upgrade was. But again, very simple, refrigerator, everything. But he allowed himself that's a little more modern style. And here's well, the back of Mark, but and this was our leader, our tour leader for this particular museum. I can't recall his name right here. Maybe Jeff, you can tell me, but he gave us a great tour and explained things to us in English. And it was just an awesome tour. That's why I couldn't help it even take these things down. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, this is a picture of us in front of the temple, and again, we stayed here for about 4 days, and this was the Langshan temple, of course, where we spent most of our time. And well, this is not all of us, but a lot of us girls were together here and said, hey, let's just take a shot, picture. Again, as Derek forewarned us, we would be taking a lot of pictures, and every chance that there was, they wanted a picture, so we took a picture. I can't name everybody by name here. There's no point to it, but this is the women, many of them. And this was, to be honest, this brought tears to my eyes. This was a wonderful, brilliant ceremony that took place for, so it was a memorial ceremony for Senior Grandmaster Cheng P. Cheng, C-H-E-N-G. And this was the only shot we could take, and that was before it started. And what you see, these flowers, these are all the way down, they were all real. And this production, and I mean, it was a production. It was 2 hours, it had over 200 people in it. And the most extraordinary thing for me was that, well, one of the most extraordinary things is that this took 2 years to prepare for this memorial service for Senior Grandmaster Cheng P. Cheng, 2 years, and it showed. The people that sang in the choir just got bigger and bigger and bigger. They actually had a contest, and it was all over the radio, and people would come in and audition, and there was actually a contest to see who would be in the ceremony. And there were young kids, teenagers, just begging to be in the ceremony because it was such an honor. And it was shocking for me. I was overwhelmed. It was with joy to see so many young people participating in this ceremony, because to them it was like, oh, if only I could win, if only I could win. So I think it was the top 2 choirs, or the top choir definitely got to participate in the ceremony, and they felt so honored. And there was another, 50 volunteers. They had volunteer shirts on, and it was like something out of Hollywood. It was like the Grammy Awards, except, not of that, obviously, persuasion, but it was a production. And one of the things that, Derek and others that I couldn't help but notice was that every time a different speaker, an elder, would come to speak, different master, I noticed there was a woman that would come, and she would have, tea, a teapot or something with a cup, and very meticulously and carefully and respectfully would place it down. 2 different women would come together, and they would place it down very carefully next to the speaker, whether he used it or not, and it was left there. And then very, very respectfully, they would leave. And then when he finished speaking, they would go back and pick up the teapot or the tea in the cup. It was just incredible. And a lot of the things, during this presentation, I did not understand in Taiwanese, but I understood from my heart. It was very obvious what was going on, and the respect that was being given to Senior Grandmaster Cheng P. Cheng. It was unbelievable. It was 2 hours of a presentation that was unbelievable. It was spectacular. It was just spectacular if you had seen this production. So at the end, there was in our chairs in front of us, there was a DVD for each person to have, and a book, a full, nice book and DVD. And we gave all of ours to Master Sherry so she could give them to others. She asked us for them, and she was going to pass them on, and so she took them to the temple. I kind of almost secretly wanted my DVD just to look at it, but I knew he put to better use. to people that really knew exactly the wording that what was being said, but I knew what was going on just by the respectful nature of everything. And again, this is the only picture they would let us take. But after this, I'm telling you, many times there wasn't a dry eye amongst everyone because it was such respect. I mean, Derek, it's almost like the respect that people do in the United States. It's a different kind of respect. This is a different level. And like I said, what you see here is just, you know, the tip of the iceberg. I mean, down to the chair coverings, there was nothing, attention to detail was definitely given. And we got a feeling of, we knew we were amongst greatness. We were learning about greatness. Okay, now these are just, this is just one of the many, 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 many different Buddhas that we saw in museums. This is just a picture, and this was a day's outing that we had, and this is one of the older temples in the middle of the city, and it was just not uncommon, as Derek pointed out last week, to see the old with the new meshed together in the city. The contrast, I found that again quite interesting, to see this building and then the temple in the middle of it, and people going all during the day, incense burning, all kinds of things. Here, apparently, we had just left. Again, more temple, the same temple actually from another angle. And this was a picture of us in front of, we were at, I think she called it was equivalent to like a city hall. And this is where they had like the changing of the guards. There were 2 guards, which you'll see shortly. And this was a group picture after that. This building, Derek, you might know the name of this building. Again, this was like the cultural center. She called it equivalent to, again, like what we would call a city hall type thing, the government city hall building. And inside here is right when you walk inside, it kind of reminded me of in being in England at 10 Downing Street, when they have, again, the changing of the guards. These guards don't move until it's time for them to move, which you'll see. Again, we're just kind of fooling around. The women wanted the picture with this dome as a backdrop. Okay. Again, Derek, that this was fantastic. This is the inside of a famous vegetarian restaurant called, I'll show you in a minute. Oh, that place was the National Palace Museum. I'm sorry. That was the National Palace Museum. But I'll tell you the name of this restaurant in a moment here. And these women that you see here, these 2 ladies here are part of the people that joined us, that actually, I believe, treated us to lunch. They were related to some of the people in the temple, and they wanted to meet us in person. And they provided us this fantastic lunch. There it is, the Jin Dao Vegetarian Restaurant. This was, I've never seen anything like it. I've been to a lot of fine restaurants, and I think this was among the finest, and a vegetarian restaurant. It was awesome. This is just the foyer of the restaurant right here. Again, there's Jeff. Let's see. Let me just show you again pictures. Derek, you told us These are again some of the women that we had such great respect for, uh, that showed us and treated us and wanted to meet us and spoke as best they could. And it started raining at the end. They pulled out their umbrellas and escorted us to our big bus, uh, regardless of themselves getting wet with umbrellas. I'm like, no, please, I should be helping you. And it was just beautiful. Um, and then the more of the women came together. I'll be in the picture. It was just so neat to see the organic nature of how pictures were taken. They were just, it was just awesome. Here you see Master William at his brother's restaurant. This is Master William's brother, and this is Master William's father and mother, and this is Master William's sister at his restaurant. And it was again a vegetarian restaurant. It was very big and very nice, and Master Williams's parents treated us, the whole group, to dinner, which was awesome. Such poised people, and they kind of, you see the resemblance there, you know. And Master William's sister also was a nurse, a registered nurse, and she joined us for part of the tour on the big bus. And I thought it was so beautiful because she started walking down the aisle, giving everybody vitamin B12 vitamins, and saying, here, you need to take this vitamin um, to pep you up. And she gave it to us, I think, 2 or 3 times throughout the trip to make sure we were getting our vitamins. Just generosity. And that's, again, Master William and his brother and sister inside the restaurant, his restaurant. Okay, I think I've shown you that picture already. I just took a picture of this showing how bicycles are also used a lot in Taiwan. It's like a little bicycle station. That's something like what they're beginning to do in Long Beach, as they do in the state of Washington and Oregon, Seattle, Washington. They're, you know, being able to use bikes and take it to another location. And I just thought it was neat. I just like that shot. This is just a shot of the hustle and the bustle of shopping area. I like that at nighttime is very different in the day. But again, I was taken back by the food display. Was awesome, and just all the things. People walking, it's Mark right there. Again, got his name right here, Tim's Berkeley. There's Jeff and Yoli and Mark. See, there are the name tags that Brian made for us. Okay, again, please forgive me with some of the names. I did not have them all marked down, but this particular tour guide for us was just wonderful because she took her day off from work. She lived in the States for about 10 years, and eventually I think she's going back soon. But she took her day off work just to show us around and to give us more information about the temples, and it was just awesome. Again, everywhere we looked, we saw the respect, you know, for the Tao. Didn't matter how modern things were, people from all walks of life came and gave their respect. This is Master Sherry's husband, Jimmy, and two of their children, the boys. Again, just the architecture and the elaborate ornaments outside the temple. And I like these, everything was just so bright, and the colors, it struck me, and just the elaborateness. Again, this is incense in there. Notice the back of the, other buildings, scaffolds on them, but meanwhile, I just loved it. I will be back. I will go back, that's for sure. Here again, another temple inside, and they were explaining to us the different meanings of, it's too much to go into right here, right now, but the different meanings of the different statues and people that we were seeing, what each one meant, the different colors and things like that. The protector of the temple, and I mean, look at that. just incredible. Okay, again, they were explaining how these particular keepers of the gate at the temple kept out bad spirits, or people, and protected the inside of the temple and the sacredness. And again, I was just in awe at constantly looking at such elaborate, detailed work. It really made me think about, this might, hope this doesn't offend anyone, but it made me think about the Vatican, because I've been to the Vatican, and it used to be so much talk about the Vatican and the Sistine Chapel and things like that. But the truth of the matter is, I found the things that I saw just as elaborate, if not more. And I understand the Vatican and the Pope and all that, and I have great respect for the Pope and Catholicism and things like that. But I found equal detail, like I said, if not more, paid to some temples. It was incredible. The ceilings to the floor. I mean, I just had so much respect, and it just took me to another depth of understanding the richness of the Tao, and what it meant and means to people, and how, what it meant to cultivate the Tao, and to spread it, and the love, and the just the respect and sharing everything that I witnessed. They didn't have to say it in words. I just got it. I saw the integrity and the honor, the discipline, everything, the excellence, And this is the ceiling. Wow. I'm now inspired to buy a better camera after seeing some of these things. This is just the stairs. This is just the railing. Again, the beautiful nature of Taiwan and its people. Again, woodwork carvings, just breathtaking. Look at this. Just again, this is another angle of the temples. I noticed also, I have to just go back one second, this is a funny picture. I noticed there was no graffiti. People were not, they didn't harm the temples, and they're all walks of people were, in the temples and around the temples, and no one desecrated or or messed with the temples, they were all kept with total respect, and it's just wonderful to see. No vandalism and things like that on these things. These are just funny shots here. People stop to get a massage for the feet and legs. Brian, here, our group leader throughout the entire tour. I didn't get this particular, I didn't get a massage, but he said, "Oh, you guys, this is a good, you know." So again, people stopped to, and some of us that were just walking, we took a tour, or Jeff and I and some of the others, we walked around just to keep seeing the people and all. And so but we stopped and ran into them and said, "Oh, look at you guys." So we took shots of them. This was, wow. This was the ceiling of one of the temples. And again, this is one of my favorite shots. I should have, wish I had gotten that, backed it up a little bit more and made it small and then make it big. But look at the elaborateness. I love this, the detail here. It's just, look at this. And here's another. This is not the same as this one. Notice, this is round, and here's another elaborate ceiling. And this is what I meant about, I find that the architecture and the artwork and the culture in Taiwan as breathtaking as what I had seen in Vatican City, as far as I'm concerned. That's that shot again from another angle. It was just awesome. Just gave me goosebumps, Another ceiling, again, patterns. Now, I know, Derek, you can probably tell me what this means, because everything has a meaning. I can't tell you, but I sure appreciated the pattern of the ceiling again and the detail. Okay, these are those red lanterns that we saw, and I got underneath them and took a shot because it just looked, I just wanted to take more shots of it from a different angle. I found them fascinating to see all of the spirals and circles and squares, all the geometric shapes and colorfulness of Taiwan. Now this might look like this, but this is a whole nother place. This is the entrance to another restaurant. It's kind of like out, it wasn't in the city at all. We had to drive the big bus right out along the side of the road. And this is the entrance to that particular restaurant. And it reminded me of the last shot I showed you. And that's why I grouped it with those pictures. Again, the outside of the temple, the elaborate the food. My goodness. As you know,
Bibi,
yes.
we made it to slide 100 in the half an hour.
Oh, good.
And we're landing on this very delicious picture of food. And, I wanted to ask you about your experience at that restaurant called Jian Dao.
Yes.
The original Chinese name is Ren Dao. Later on, they changed the Chinese name of the restaurant to Lian Xiang Zai, which is roughly translated as the lotus fragrance. But the English name stayed what it was before. That restaurant is actually buffet style. Like you can go back and get whatever you want.
Can I show you that? Maybe I have that. There, this is it right here. That's that restaurant.
So what did you think of what you've been to, vegetarian restaurants stateside, how would you characterize the difference between vegetarian restaurants there and vegetarian restaurants here?
Well, I'll tell you the truth. Uh, these restaurants were the best restaurants I've ever been to in my life. In my life, and I've been all over the world, and I would have to say, so far in my life, particularly this restaurant, the restaurants in Taiwan, the food, I think is the best I've ever had in my life. And I've been a vegetarian, Derek, for over 40 years, and I'm a vegan. I've been a vegan for about 30 years, or more, a little more than 30 years. And I've been a vegetarian about 42 years of my 63 years of living. And it was the best. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen the amount of different types of food, the layout, the deliciousness, the tastiness, and vegan, many of the places, and it was the best, second to nothing I've ever witnessed. I've never seen a vegetarian restaurant even that elaborate and that big. A meal costs about $20 in US dollars to have there, which of course is a lot in Taiwan, but relatively speaking, for what you can get, like you just said, being buffet style, and you can go back as much as you want, as you know, it was awesome. I mean, these things were just the displays. They just had everything. So you know, just looking at the displays alone, and then the food, I mean, it was awesome. I'd say it was the best I've ever had in my life.
Well, I think much the same, and Carmen agrees with you as well. You know, it's been 10 years since she had that experience, and she can totally identify with what you're saying. I want to share with everyone that, you know, in the past, I've brought non-vegetarians to that kind of restaurant in Taiwan, and what they say is always like, you know, hey, if I can eat like this all the time, you know, I'm perfectly happy to be a vegetarian for life. You know, that's how skillful those chefs are.
Yes.
One cultural difference I want to share with everyone that I noticed about East and West is that here in the West, I often find that many people are incredibly talented, especially in terms of music. Like, you know, people that you don't expect will be able to, you know, have musical talents. They pick up an instrument and, you know, wow, it's like they're actually really good. In Taiwan, it's kind of like that, but not with music. It's like that with food. It isn't just the restaurants. There's a sort of a foodie culture that's part of the Chinese culture from way back for centuries and centuries. So a lot of the best chefs are not people that you would normally expect because they don't wear a funny chef hat. It may be some guy that's running a food stand, you know, by the street, and he's got incredible stuff, and it keeps him in business. And you know, his food is like really cheap, and you guys probably sampled that when you went to the night market.
Yes, those are, I know I'm finished here. I can just show you these, be done with it. These are the shots of the food when you said the night market. I can just,
Yeah, some incredible snacks, and other, I would say, amazing chefs are, you know, moms who normally just cook for their family, and you would not expect them to be world class, but you know, uh, once they decide to put something together, they're just incredible. So it's an island full of some of the most talented chefs that I have ever seen. Um, that particular restaurant, by the way, the Jandao,
yes,
in my personal scale, I tell people that most of the restaurants that I see here, even the best, what people consider to be the best vegetarian restaurants here, to me, it's like a 7
yes,
on a scale from 1 to 10. Jan Dao was a 10 for me, and then later on, I sampled some of the more incredible cuisine. in Taiwan. So those became 10, and Jiandao became a 9.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that was definitely, I've never seen a restaurant like that and for it to be vegetarian. This is not the Jiandao. This is another restaurant, but just again showing you the elaborate nature of uh, constantly. You know, even this restaurant. Anyway, I'll
Huge,
stop.
huge amount of variety, I think. And
This is
that looks like that was sort of like art that was presented to you.
yes, this is in a yeah, and this is in a restaurant. Look at the backdrop.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, on a less food-related question, but more spirituality-related,
Yes.
you know, Bibi, I often talk about how, you know, when you study the Tao with this particular tradition, you are in a tradition that is steeped in authenticity. Now, I talk about that all the time, but I know that without an actual first-hand um, personal experience, what I say is only just words. Now, you've had the personal experience, you were steeped in authenticity. Um, what do you think about the difference between your actual experience versus the stuff that I've been talking about in terms of authenticity?
That's a great question. You know, my takeaway from that, from the trip, uh, aside from those things I just showed you in terms of authenticity, in terms of the Tao, I had like 11 words I had written down that made me think about it. And it was respect, love, honor, integrity, discipline, excellence, humility, leadership, excellence again, daily practice, health. Uh, Everyone that I saw exuded those qualities and more. Everything was excellent. Without them saying to me, like you said about reading, I learned to up my game, to be excellent in what you do, to be of your word, to have integrity, you know, have discipline, do your morning rituals, your daily practice. You know, I used to have a little challenge with routines of doing things. I've never been kind of like a routine person, being kind of right brain and artsy sometimes or whatever. I learned the value of I learned the value more of routine and daily practice and how you become stronger in what you're doing. I mean, they're not talking it. They didn't preach. Uh, they just exuded it. And in fact, when I think I was telling you, Derek, my grandson came to visit me last week, for example, because of me taking this trip, I, I learned not to be the preachy teachy person, and instead I backed up and I learned a lot about, okay, just live. And I think he got more from me, and I think I was much better for it uh, because you know, you don't just talk the talk. It's more about walking the walk. And that's what I saw. And it's through your lectures, Derek, that you have consistently and diligently done Sunday after Sunday. Again, not telling us, well, people, I have to drive here every day and set up, and Bill and I, you know, do this and do that. You just do it. And so eventually we get the message. Derek is going to be here, and it's your choice whether you want to tune in and turn on uh, or what. How strong is your practice? And so again, it's what you do and what I see and what I learned being there was all put together uh, as one practice to realize Tao cultivators are doers. If I had to put it in a nutshell, they just take care of business. You know, you just become a take care of business person. You know, here people just, you know, smoke marijuana, you know, drink a little too much wine, and oh, they still do their work. Do a little of this, do a little of that, and still do their work. But when you start talking about being excellent, and being really excellent, you want, you know, leadership without saying I'm a leader, and you know, integrity, and you know, your word. It's another level of living. And I think being in the West, having been raised in New Jersey and California and being out here and everything, everybody's just mediocre is good enough. You're in America after all. America's number one. Mediocre is good enough. That makes you number one. And I learned a much different thing from people that had, in many cases, not as much materially speaking as Americans, but they had much, much more depth than people that drive the finest car and everything else. And many drove the finest car as well, for that matter. But to answer your question, Derek, I saw people living the Tao. It wasn't out of a book. It was in their practice. People like Brian, and the other woman, giving their time and not expecting money.
Well, they greeted you as family. Like you could see how happy they were to see you. I think that came through.
Absolutely. That's exactly, every temple, everyone, they rolled out the red carpet. It was a bright red carpet being rolled out, metaphorically.
And the other thing that you said was really well said as well, and that's about the actual practice of living the Tao. As you pointed out, when you saw the living arrangements of Senior Grandmaster Chen, who passed away, 5 years ago, while he was alive, he headed up the I-kuan Tao organization, which is very large, as you can see. But he chose to live very simply because that's what he taught. He had to practice what he preached.
Yes. Yes.
And one little known fact about him is that he maintained a daily practice of qigong and yoga. He was flexible and limber all the way to the very end of his life. He's able to put his leg behind his back. I can even come close to doing that. So, much respect to him as a lifelong practitioner. Let's go ahead and do the meeting closing ritual. 起立，面向佛堂，持架深鞠躬，一鞠躬，再鞠躬，三鞠躬，持架各位点传世一鞠躬，结班一鞠躬。Okay, guys, we are done.
Join the Tao meeting live to participate in the questions and commentary. For more information, go to http://taoism.net/tao/connect-online.